Hi, I'm Aaron Boria and welcome to my food blog. Today I'm going to be making chicken marsala. Got my trusty apron on here. Check this out, folks. Oh yeah, there's a good one. And of course, my drink for the evening. Tonight I'm going to be drinking Redbreast. It's an Irish whiskey. It's pretty good. Kind of reminds me of bourbon. This one is actually a 12-year and it's cask strength, so it's serious stuff. Gotta have something to drink while you're cooking or it does not come out as well. That is rule number one. For chicken marsala, you will need onion or shallot, mushrooms. These are just regular mushrooms. You could also use porcinis or something else fancy if you wanted. Some regular, I'm using canola oil. I have some cheap Marsala wine here. A little chicken broth, salt, pepper, flour, garlic, chicken. We've got Dominic the Doberman in here helping. He mainly supervises. First thing you're going to do is you're going to cut the chicken on a bias because it's too thick and it won't cook evenly if we do it this way. Alright, once you got the chicken cut, you're going to take your handy dandy meat tenderizer and you're going to beat that stuff. Once you've got it flattened out, you're going to put a little salt, pepper on there. You can even throw some garlic on if you like. So now I'm just putting the chicken in this flour mixture, which is pretty much just flour. I put a little bit of salt and pepper in there. Not a lot though, because I already put it on the chicken. Why do I do that? Well, that way I know I got it on there. Got the stove on about medium or just past medium. A little oil in there, enough to coat the pan. Then I'm going to start putting some ingredients in there while I get the chicken ready. Garlic. Hey, Dom! Hey! Hey! Once the onions start getting translucent, I'm going to get ready to add the chicken. If you see any of these brown spots in here starting to form, just make sure you scrape them real good. That'll prevent the burning. Plus it gets a good flavor in there. So again, I'm going to push these onions out of the way and start putting my chicken in. If the pan seems dry, you may want to add a little bit of oil so that it doesn't stick. Alright, when you can see part of the top of the chicken kind of starting to look like it's cooked, you can bet that the underside is starting to get brown and nice and it's time to turn it. When we go to turn it, we're going to scrape it a little bit because we want the sticky part to become unstuck. And we want to stick it to the chicken and not to the pan. Some is going to stick to the pan, that's okay. Scrape it real good, give it a flipperoo. Alright, I got the chicken flipped over. You can see I'm getting a nice brown color, a little bit of crust. Some of the spots, not as crusty as I'd like. I may flip it back over, but you get the gist. Alright, once the chicken is pretty much cooked, I'm going to transfer it over to a clean surface and kind of set it aside while I get the mushrooms ready. Alright, mushrooms are going in. I did notice that at the bottom here where I pulled my chicken up, the center of my pan is starting to burn a little bit, but it's actually not burnt. That's all good flavor. So what we're going to do is we're going to deglaze the pan. It's going to be delicious. Alright, roughly half a cup to a cup of this Marsala wine is going to go in there. I'm going to put that in first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape this. It's kind of hard to do with one hand on the phone, but I'm going to scrape it. It's all going to come off, go in there and be real good flavor. Chicken broth is going to go in as wine, about a cup or so. Alright, I'm going to bring the heat up a little bit. I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of butter. I've got it, it might be a little too hot. I'm going to keep an eye on it. But at the same time, I'm going to be scraping the bottom and pushing everything into the center and pulling it back. And if you're not scraping the bottom, it's not going to get thick. So you got to scrape, scrape, scrape. Alright, now that we got it at a boil, I'm going to start adding the chicken in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give it this little wiggle so that mushrooms and onions get pushed out of the way. It goes down to the bottom. And we're just going to let it kind of sit in there and cook and baste in it, and it's going to be awesome. Alright, we got all the chicken in there. It's all nice and buried in that sauce, and it's going to start getting thick. Every once in a while, I'm going to take my spatula, I'm going to scrape the bottom again, let it get thicker and thicker. But for now, it's time to finish the scotch. Once you've had a high boil for a couple minutes and it's not burning or anything, you're going to turn it down, get a little lower. I don't know what you call that, medium, low, and just let it boil and simmer, and it's going to get thick and delicious. Once the sauce is reduced by about half or a little more, you're going to see it's going to start getting real thick, like a gravy. See how it's kind of parting like that? That's when we're about ready to plate it. A little garnish. And yes, once again, better than your grandmother's.